Java, what's about Java? So Java, we have stable APIs. I would say no magic. Java code is trivial to read. Also, someone saying, okay, this is like long and bloated, but I like it. It's easy to read. We have Javadoc. Everything is included. So this is why Java became popular back then. Now there are other languages which are similar to Java. Back then, what means, the entire, now we even have HTTP. Now it's JDK 11. So we have HTTP client with SSE and WebSocket support. Works out of the box. So I can just download Java and go and learn once, never migrate. This is actually why I like Java and Java EE and microprofile, but now web components as well, because I don't have to relearn crazy frameworks any other day. So no accidental migrations are required. And if we now switch back and forth between web components and Java, I would say a very similar story, except there is one MDN, Mozilla Developer Network, which contains all the documentation you need to understand what I do today. And this basically is. And of course, Java and web components are working. So this is the difference. So I like both. Now, today, what I would like to explain you, so-called unidirectional data flow. So you ask me, I got lots of questions about complex apps. I would say if the app becomes complex, what does it mean in the front end? I would say we have several components which have to interact with each other, right? This is what I will say. This starting to be complex. So we have one input field, and the other field, listens to the changes of the input field, and the table, shows something different or calculated changes from the input field. This starts which going to be complex, and without a concept, it ends up being spaghetti code, and this is nothing new. We have the problem in Swing for years. So what we did in Swing back then, there was a pattern. I actually forgot to look it up. Here they are. So share screen. The screen sharing disappeared. So this is the problem. So now I should see the slides. So I share this. I share Is it better now?
No, we don't see your slides.
Okay. What you see then?
You can.
Okay.
Now we can see your slides.
Okay, thank you. So, but this was the other slides were irrelevant. So this was my introduction. So this was like marketing, and this was interesting. So what I said is the Javadoc and the web components difference. So this is, and now comes the first slide, which is relevant. And what I told you is that we have the idea of complex application is like we have the input element, and the input element or input text. If you type something in, you would like to have this data somewhere else, and other components listen to the changes. And in Swing we add mediator pattern, not moderator, mediator pattern. And the mediator pattern, what it did is it was basically a singleton where all the components exchange data using the mediator. And surprisingly, you can do exactly the same with web components. So what I showed you right now is nothing new, rather than 20 years old technology transferred Java technology to the web. Okay, now this was the motivation, right? So we learned in my session is 20 years old tech. But we have the idea is boundary control entity. Why the strange naming? Because it's one of the oldest patterns, and because available everywhere, I can actually draw this icons also everywhere. So it therefore there's less discussion with consultants, architects, and so forth. So the idea is we have the input text here. Hopefully you can see now my mouse movements, and these events are submitted, or events. What here happens is, this is exactly what we did in Swing before. You have a text field, you type something in, and this text field calls a control. So the control, this is just void communication. So you never expect the data back. It's just one direction, fire and forget. And this control would, for instance, communicate with the backend or not. But if it has a new data, it will store the data in a global singleton, and very similar to the mediator pattern. And this singleton will then distribute the events to all listeners. Now, in web, this is a web component. There are just ES6 functions, and this is the Redux store, which is a single class. And for Java developers, very easy to explain. It is a singleton which contains internally a weak hash map with the state, and or even it is weak. I'm not sure whether, let's say hash map. So let's say it is a hash map, and on a change, so the changes are never performed directly from the control, rather than from functions called reducers, which are more or less trivial. The reducer gates the state and the action and decides what to do and changes, mutates the state. So how I work with it is the main logic is inside the controls and supporting classes, and the mutators, they are just, copying the data back and forth. So now what happens is if the state of the mediator or Redux toolkit is changed, an event is fired, or rather than all components which are interested get notified. So that's the idea here. And because now we can say, okay, wait a second, I have hundreds of components, it can become slow, but we are using lit HTML, you will see in a second, and the lit HTML is very good with DOM diffing. So also all components are notified, not all components are going to be updated on the screen. So I hope you have questions. Now, fun enough, now you see my screen, but I don't see your chat. So, but I guess you have, everything is crystal clear. So, and the moderator can just reread the questions, or someone from the audience. This would be also nice. So now, conventions, design decisions for larger apps. So we are talking now larger apps, and I created actually the slides shortly before the show, not to forget things and to give you something, a reference. I would say, don't make me think. So there's actually a book, if you search for it, there's a book, design book, Don't Make Me Think. But I would say it should be obvious. If you look at the structure of the application and you see the names of the folders, it should be obvious what happens behind the scenes. So it's not like we have lots of exceptions. We do always the same thing. This is, I would say, a recipe for more, not for disaster, a recipe for more complex applications. So structure and business folders, exactly what I do in the backend, I do in the frontend as well. It means every folder in JavaScript, I expect to have a name related to the business or domain. And there is something like index.html web component in every folder. So if I open a folder, I'll show you in a second everything. So, but I would explain it right now. If I open a folder, I expect in the folder a file with the same name as the folder. And this file is something like index.html because it imports, or it composes other web components. So I will show you this in a second. And there is a strict separation between the view and presentation logic. So far, never a web component was able to send data to server or something like this. So it was not possible. So what it means is, so now how the components gets updated. So this is the trick. All components are going to be registered in the mediator or Redux, and on any change they get notified and they re-render themselves or not. If they're not interested, not, but they can subscribe to changes and get re-rendered. What it means is, so we have highly decoupled architecture, if you will. The components don't know each other, absolutely not. They don't even use custom events. I only use custom events in nested components sometimes, but never between higher order components. And the entire thing is asynchronous. And even it is very, very similar to event-driven architecture like Kafka, Kinesis, Apache Pulsar, something like this. Not JMS, rather than event-driven with storage. So this is, see some similarities here. Okay, so the entire, I have the templates I will show you right now is checked into my GitHub repository. and forgot to open that. So let's do this. It is called BCE Design. Hopefully BCE Design, here it is. So it's 41 stars. It would be nice if I got exactly 42 stars and never more. This would be the answer to all frameworks, right? So, but unfortunately, just 41 stars. But this is whatever I showed you is here. And basically, there are two folders. App source is just the application template. Ellipse is fully optional. What Ellipse does is it updates or it converts external dependencies to standard ES6 modules. And what I did yesterday, just for you, 23 hours ago, is I updated to lit HTML to 0 without any issues. This was what happened yesterday. And as you can see, I just use 3 dependencies. This Redux toolkit, this is the mediator, this Vadin router, fully optional, but I get lots of questions. Can you actually include external components? So I did it, Vadin router, but this is like, nice to have. And lit HTML, which is somehow crucial regarding performance and regarding security. Good news, lit HTML is not a framework rather than 2 JavaScript functions. So we are not highly dependent on a crazy framework developer. Okay, so so we have it. So tooling, Visual Studio Code, browser sync. What browser sync is a better web server. So we could use Fokus as well, but browser sync, it just syncs even multiple browsers, which is really nice for testing. So you can have open Chrome, Firefox, and Edge. It's called Edge, yeah, at the same time, and it will update all 3 browsers or Safari. And Redux DevTools, I also using this as you will see the small icons in Chrome icon in my Chrome browser, which is nice. Okay, and so BCE Design, it uses lit HTML, Redux Toolkit, Vadin Router, Bulma.io is just CSS. It looks nicer. This is not necessary. The question is what I do with CSS. There are, the newer CSS libraries. They are just plain CSS libraries without any JavaScript, so I prefer them. And Rollup I use to convert external dependencies. So actually the example ships with it. And yesterday I converted lit HTML 1 something to 2.0. And by the way, I don't know, this year, this template draws some attention. So I got yesterday at the AXTV some questions regarding this. I get pings from project that is working well. And even a student approached me. He does a survey, semi-structural survey, I never heard about that, about web development without framework. And he asked me about this and then asked me a nice question. What are actually the reasons to use web frameworks? And I had to say, I have no idea. Maybe it's better for your resume or whatever, right? So, and of course, there are reasons if you're using React Fiber, there's extremely fast updates. So with my approach, I couldn't create a game, let's say. This was more like for boring enterprise apps, and with React Fiber, it is a way faster if you need hundreds of updates inside a screen. So thank you means I can close the slides and now focus on code, which this is the JCON conference, so this, right. So what I did, web BCE project, and now call it complex. No, complex, it has to sound cool. So complex application. So let's open that. And what it does, it clones the GitHub project, and hopefully it also opened my, it opened my Visual Studio Code. So I would like to open this and this. And now let's quick walk through what it is. I can say add please a bookmark, and the bookmark is JCON 1 and new bookmark. And in the list, there is the JCON 1, and I can delete it again and stuff like that. So, so I would like to walk through the code, and everything starts with index.html. So this is the index.html, and then maybe we write a little code. So let's see how it goes. Now, this is a plain HTML. So what you see here is the following. Wait a sec, I just make it a little bit larger. So we see here 2 links at, and this is the bookmark, and this links. Usually it is, I think, responsive, right? Yeah, it is a little bit responsive. So it changes the look and feel, but it's a different story. So this add and links are 2 links, and you can see if I click on that, I can navigate here. And for the navigation, Vadin router is responsible. So there are 2 links, and then there are 2 Java references to JavaScript. One is init.js, and the other one is app.js module. So the any.js is actually boring. So I only need it for the Redux toolkit to say I'm in development mode. That's all. And this is required, otherwise you get strange errors. So I had to do this. And so app.js is actually necessary. And what it does two things. First, a nice hack is I'm subscribing to the internal state. And I'm subscribing to the state of the Redux toolkit. This is what happens here. And I get the state back, and then I save the state, and the state is saved into a local storage. So the nice thing is I have offline app where the entire state is synchronized in Chrome browser. So if I would open the Chrome, what happened, and make it a little bit larger, there should be an application. Wait a sec, where is it? Here, application, storage, not storage, yeah, storage. And here should be the data somewhere. Wait a sec, should be local storage. So we have local storage and session storage, and the data here should be somewhere. But it. So you should find it here, actually. So it's yeah, you will find it here if you have larger screen. So and this is the entire state of the application is here. And this is time for testing because I can copy and paste the entire thing and copy it back. So which is really nice. On the same note, on the same time, the entire state is here. So this is my Redux toolkit plugin and or Redux plugin where I can track the state and all the actions. Okay, so now this was the simple trick. So in production, you can remove it or not. It really depends whether you would like to have offline cache or not. So this was the first trick. So go back to the app.js. And I actually use the trick all the time for testing because if I, let's say, have 3 screens, I do mostly on the 3rd screen. With that, I don't have to navigate, all the time to the last screen. So now the router is set up with 2 paths. You see slash and add. And what you can also see here, the component. It means if I click I perform the slash action here in the browser, the component B list is active. Otherwise, the component B bookmarks. So as you can see, 2 imports, bookmarks and list. What I said to you, don't make me think. So there is a bookmark component here or folder with boundary. And what I can expect that every bookmarks folder will get the index HTML component called bookmarks. So, and this, if we open that, there is a bookmarks. So, and the name of the bookmarks is going to be B bookmarks. Why B dash? Because all custom elements and web components have to have, the dash, otherwise you cannot register them. And B stands for BCE. So if this would be a JCON conference, it could be JCON dash bookmarks. So usually, the prefix is usually called after my client, so they like it. Okay, nice. So what it means is if we go to the bookmarks here, what you will see is the name of the bookmark is B bookmarks. So this is how it works, the navigation. So if I would create another component, so let's create that. So I have to go to source and see BCE. This is like a small, what it does, make dir and creates 3 folders. And what I would like to create is hello. And here it is, hello. So hello boundary would mean I need a hello JS. And the hello JS, this would be hello extends B element. And by the way, yesterday by the EHEXTV, someone asked me, why don't you use TypeScript? And I show you why, because the JavaScript is really nice without, this is just a plain, there is absolutely no support. Be hello and hello. So this looks nice. And what I also need is a view. I'll show you why I need the view. And then I will return HTML, which is the lit HTML function. And then, of course, do something like H3 and JCON 1 rocks, of course. So, and then with a little bit of luck, let's see how luck do we have. We need here a hello tag. So hello, and this would be hello. And we have here hello. So this looks good. And we go to the app.js And now I will need here another component called be hello, and this should be hello. So lots of hellos, which is very good at the beginning of a session. So you can say hello to everybody. So this is hello and hello. So now we have enough hellos, and Java 1 rocks. This was Y1. Wait a second, there's mystery going on. No. So JCON, this was how, how to extend the navigation. So I created a component from scratch. So now you saw the app.js, how this works. So we have path, you can have subpath, you can have path substitution, and yeah, whatever a modern router has, and the router itself is a web component. Okay, so now we have a new web component. Now let's take a look at something else. So in the app, what you also see, I just imported a store here. And the question is why? And what is the store? And the store here is a component which initializes the Redux store. And as you can see, I have reducer with 1 slot bookmarks. So because bookmarks has state, these bookmarks, I usually would expect to have the same slot in the Redux store with bookmarks. You see that I have it indeed. So if we go here, there is a state with bookmarks, and inside the bookmarks there's a list and bookmark. So this is a like data hiding. So the individual components, they decide what the structure looks internally. So I'm just load the preloaded state, which is optional. I could load the state from the server. In some projects we did it, so the entire state was stored on the server, so that the user at any time could push save. The entire state would be serialized and sent to the server, and the next time the app looked identically to before. So it's a nice trick. So I decide, is there a preloaded state or not? If there is no preloaded state, I just pick the default state from the reducers. And then the store is configured. So configure store is a method from Redux Toolkit, and I pass the config. So what it means is, if we get another component with state, I would just add another slot with let's say hello. It will be hello with hello reducer, and the component will get a dedicated slot. So it is not, the slot is more like a table in the database. So it is not like complete data hiding. It's more like the components can pick and choose what they like. So this is just, but it will be nice, of course, if the bookmark component will just store data in bookmarks, and which usually happens. But what is more likely, that the bookmark component would read also from hello. I think you have no questions, right? So I don't see the chat. So are there any questions in the chat? Wait a sec. I only see. Here's the chat.
No questions.
No, the last question was, are there any slides shown? So the answer, no more. I closed the slides. There will be no more slides. Okay, fun. So we have this. Now go through the bookmarks. So this bookmarks is loaded, and this is the bookmarks component, like the index HTML. And you see, okay, I'm telling you, frameworks are bad, and I'm inheriting from B element. So what is the B element? And this is actually a framework, but not very long one. It is 50 lines of code. And why it's so long? Because there's a lots of logging going on. Why so much logging? Because the nice thing is, if you take a look at the console, what I get here is a nicely structured log. And this is what happens in the B element. I see, okay, the B element was created first, then it subscribed to Redux changes, then this hello the view was updated, and then the state was passed to the view, was not modified, and after the state was extracted, this is the bookmark state, and it was picked by the hello. So in the case of the hello, so let's go, hello.js, what I could do, I could actually say, I'm only interested, let's say here, I could say extract state, and I get the state. I could do some destructuring and say, I only interested in bookmarks in the bookmarks, and then the bookmark, and just return this. Of course, this is like Java, so I need this, return bookmark. So, and if I return, So as you can see, we have hello trigger view updated. Before extraction, it looks like this. And after extraction, it looks like here. So it was extracted. I can directly access the label. So let's try this. Now I can say what I would like to do is I would like to have the label, and I think it was name, right? Say this state. And so what I can do is I can say hello rocks. And here label. So rocks JCON, because the last one is JCON. So I can just go here and say hopefully name is available. Name is available. And yeah, JCON 1 rocks JCON. So it's almost recursion, yeah. Okay, so we have this. So this is how you would access the data. And on every change of the of a component, this is going to be re-rendered. But lit-HTML would recognize that if this doesn't change, this is not re-rendered at all. So this is the entire trick. So we get like a DOM diffing without having virtual DOM. Okay, so we created a component from scratch, which does that. So another thing is, so what happens actually here? So if I go here and say, hello, JCON, so why it is updated and how new bookmarks are created. So let's go here. This bookmark see add, so this component add, you see it is imported add, so I can go here, add, and add, it will be add and add, so no surprises here. It contains the markup with HTML, so exactly the same as before. And with a little trick here, wait a sec, with a little trick, what happens here is I have on key up listener, which is a standard DOM listener. And on every key up, user input is invoked, and the user input receives the name and the value from the component. So I can actually very quickly enhance it. So I could actually say, I would like to have a description as well. So this would be a description. Let's say description. What I have to do is name is have to be description, and I now go with description, and this should be enough. So right. So I think so. So where is the description? Here's the description. Let's see. Hello world from JCON. So new bookmark list. It is listed hello world, but the interesting part is it in the state? So, and we have now name hello link world. Let's see here. So bookmarks list, and hopefully we will see. I think it should be the last one, right? So hello and description. You see the previews. There was no description, so we or it was. It was because it captures, of course, all the interesting. So hello world description. So maybe it was before. So that's a strange thing. But on user input, it just picks the name from here and text and the value and applies that. So that's the basic idea here. Okay, so now as we see, there is no business logic except it just says, okay, the form has to be validated. So validation in this particular case, it cannot be empty, but you can put your patterns here. It's supported out of the box. And I say, okay, if everything is okay, then perform new bookmark. And on the fly, on every change, bookmark updated is called. As you can see here, it comes from control layer. And what happens here is we have bookmark updated action, where we just dispatching this bookmark updated action. So for every keystroke, an event is generated with the name and the value of the affected component, is sent to Redux store, and all components are re-rendered. Okay, so now, and the Redux store, this is the reducer. You don't see actually the Redux store, it's just there. And what I do here is I create a reducer, and there is the reducer builder add case. And what add case is like if else. I say, okay, if bookmark updated action, then go here. If new bookmark action here. So it's nice because I don't have to deal with the strings, so with the constants. So I'm just using the actions here. And one thing, I forgot to mention it, another naming convention. So what I tend to do is there is an action, it's called bookmark updated action and bookmark updated action. and there is one method called bookmark updated without the action, and the method is called by the view, and the action is dispatched to the store. Not always, but usually this is what happens. Okay, this is the general structure of controls. And if we go to the server, the communication happens here. And of course, the entire server communication is encapsulated in a dedicated control, exactly what we would also do in Java. And it encapsulates the fetch API. So we are actually pretty far. So this is how it works with the backend communication. And all the calls can be asynchronous because we never wait for the completion. So and at any point of time, I could actually say you are async, and it would just work as it is. So no difference. Okay, still no questions. Am I actually online still, or I'm just talking to myself? This could be also nice. So are you alive? Chat, someone says, just ask a star, give me a star, or hands up, or whatever. Ah, we hear you. Wow. Now, so we can, this is the Tyson for scalability of a chat. Okay, now let's talk to the server. We have 10 minutes. Maybe we could do this. So to talk with the server, I need a server, of course. And by the way, what I wanted to show you, these are the workshops which we'll be interested in. This is the Redux toolkit. The lit HTML, the new one, is called lit.dev. The lit HTML Polymer is old one. We are using already the new one. And the Rollup.js, a great tool, which is like very lightweight. And what it does is it gathers the dependencies and creates one file. So this is basically it. And so now another related utility is called mockend. It's built with Fokus, and this is like in-memory CRUD store with SSE support, servers and events. So I would like to launch it. Maybe we can store something on the server. This would be nice. So start mockend. So it just started the Quarkus application. This is it is indeed one of the view cases where super jar or Über jar, or how it's called, the fed jar makes sense. It's just one jar, and it starts everything. And I just created some curl, and what I can do is I can just post to localhost 8080 CRUD. So let's try this. So I would like to post to the Quarkus, and where to put it. So what happens here? It looks like this. So we have here the bookmark updated. So it updates the bookmark. I don't think it's the right time to send everything to the server, but the new is more interesting. So instead of dispatching to the server, where is the code uploaded? The code is in it is not uploaded at all. You are right. Git add GCM initial creation, and now is the code uploaded. So now you have it. But what I wanted to tell you is we have the new bookmark action, and I don't like to dispatch the action here. Rather than, I would like to go to the server. And in order to go into the server, first, what I told you, everything is async. So let's make it async. I will have to communicate with the fetch, and I think it's HTTP localhost 8080/CRUD. And then I have to say, okay, method, and you see how nice actually this Visual Studio Code is without TypeScript, just ES6. And what I would like to have is post. Post, and then I need the payload, and the payload is going to be const payload. Wait a sec. What we said, it is bookmarks, and the bookmark is the recent one, right? Bookmark, and then say this is this state. So then I can say, okay, now let's say not this state. There is no this. It is store get state. Store get state. Okay. Now what I would like to have is having to payload, and because I think it won't work the very first time, JSON parse. Sorry, stringify. The other thing is stringify, and my bookmark. So what I'm doing here, I'm fetching the last state from the store, and I say create a string out of that. And this is the body. And the one thing which I always forget, but not today, the very first time, headers. And the headers is an object. And what I can do is I can say the content type, I hope this is application JSON. Application/JSON. And I would like to wait for the completion here. Okay, so let's see why I don't like to translate anything. So we have this, and we have the mockend, and what mockend is able to do is it is able to listen to servers and events. So let's do this SSE. Now it listens. Okay, let's see whether it works. So I say add, and oh, this was not very wise. Now I have 3 things to fill up. Backend communication not working. So new, and it works. So as you can see, I was able to send this to the backend with label backend link communication ID and so forth. And this is my payload. And now, of course, we could say, wouldn't be nice if we were able to receive this and update the view, right? So we have 2 minutes. This could be hard, I have to admit, but let's see. At least receive it. So let's say here git add. Otherwise, the chat is going to be nervous. And GCM is backend communication. Backend communication is working. So let's do this. So what I could do is I could have here export const init, let's call it, or receive updates. Receive updates. And this is a method with no parameters and with a block of code. Yeah. Who cares about pushing, by the way? So git push. This was you know, the chat tries to confuse me. This is git push, not push, right? So now we have here receive update. So what I need is const event source, I think is the name, equals new event source. And then we have HTTP localhost and 8080/SSE. And then what I have to do is event is one hard thing to know, because the event is named. I have to listen to the event. On message won't work. So I do add event listener, and the add event listener, the name of the listener is CRUD event. So let's do this. And then what I get is the event, and the event has data. It's data, so I'm interested in it. And actually what really interests me is the payload here. Right, the key payload. So let's try this. This is the data, and just this is the handler. This is like Java Lambda with fat arrow, exactly the same. So we have this, and now what I can do is first, of course, log it, because it won't properly work. Data, and then what I can do is to say this is actually this is the end game, right? So what I would like to do is to send this and say the following: JSON parse the data, and what I get back is the payload, and I send the payload here. And of course, I will have to modify this thing a bit. So the bookmarks reducer, there's new bookmark. The difference is I don't need to do this. I don't think so. Hopefully not. And then I can just say I only pushing here the payload. the payload. Now, okay, let's do this. So we have here and say nice with SSE. New bookmark. List. Nothing, of course not. And display. You know what? Very important thing. In JavaScript is very important. If someone writes functions, you have actually to invoke them. Otherwise, it won't work. So what I have to do is, sorry for this, I have to go here. Wait a sec, make it smaller. Where is it? Smaller? No, smaller. Yeah, now smaller. Now, in web component, there is connected callback. And the connected callback works like post construct in Java. So I would have to invoke the super. And this was, I think, receive updates. Watch this. Everything is imported. So without TypeScript. So now we have it. Now add bookmark and say hello. No hello world. Hopefully. Where's the button? Oh, new list. And this is the state. So now we got, the full unidirectional data flow almost implemented from scratch. So we are going to server, posting to server, ignoring the return value, and we get notified with SSE completely asynchronously. Hopefully, let's see here. Does it work? List. And you see label SDF link world, hopefully. So we got the notification from server, and you should also see here description. Hopefully it works. So hopefully it worked. And the server is also busy. So now, of course, pushing. This was the only thing, git add and GCM. So the moderator told me, now you can ask me questions. So ask me questions. So SSE server communication is working. So to summarize that, what I wanted to say is that building complex app means the front-end components have to be decoupled. You need a consistent naming, and it should scale. It means I could have several hundred such folders, and I don't care. And if the design is simple, it will work. And I would reduce the amount of frameworks. The less frameworks you have, the less trouble you have with npm updates, audits, and so forth. Yeah, it's pushing. Git push. So the next session, JCON session, will be called git commit and git push, and I will push the entire time, and it will be probably happy. So any questions to the audience? Or moderator is very silent. I need auto push, right? A small Crocus project which automatically pushes, or an alias would be nice. Yeah, an alias actually, right? So you're right. Very good. Joe asked me, how would micro-frontend pattern influence BCE architecture? The funny thing is, if you go to my YouTube channel, there is a talk for Japan micro-frontends. So I'm one who created something without a framework, and there were other guys from AWS which presented their stuff. And actually, the funny thing is, we are completely micro-frontend capable. Why? Because all the imports here can load from an URI. So what you can very easily do is you could say, I'm not loading locally the web component, I'm loading the web component from outside. This would work. A little bit more problematic is the global Redux store. The question is, would you like to keep the Redux store global? I would try to keep that. But if you have micro frontends, what could happen is that you say, okay, I would like to have multiple Redux store, which would also work, but it's highly unusual. So what Rollup.js does, the only thing why I need Rollup.js is npm usually stores the libraries with the scoped modules. I think with the add varden, and this add varden is not a standard. So what Rollup.js does, it replaces the add with the path. This is why I need Rollup. Done. So would you recommend to get rid of React? It's hard recommendation, because React is really nice and very similar to this. I wouldn't start with React, but I don't think there's any reason to get rid of React. Angular, different story. Which UI component library would you recommend for writing large modular enterprise app? I mean, visual component library is already in the show notes. ING web components, SAP of UI5 web components, Vardin elements. So there are lots of visual libraries, and in larger enterprise apps, if I had to work with, or I worked with web developers and they really knew well jQuery, and there are lots of jQuery plugins or components which are absolutely can reuse with that. How much time do you need to spend debugging missing imports for the component string names? Imports never, because if I miss a import, never occurred to me. So it is, I will immediately see this. I mean, not a problem so far, not at all. So how much time so far? Maybe 1 minute, I guess. But imports is not the issue. If there are complex renamings, then it is could be a, but still good enough. I mean, component be bookmark. No, not much because of my naming convention, right? It is always the same. So and maybe this what you can do. You see here, I'm just loading the component here. I don't have, you know, to import the B bookmark. So someone asked me, if you wanted to scale this in the multi-node backend server with a load balancer in front of them, how would you handle the state persistence between different nodes? Very easy. If you are on AWS, Elastic Load Balancer, application load balancer understands WebSockets and SSE, so there is no issue. So you get how to call it, session affinity for free. Next question. And if you're running your own load balancer, like for instance Nginx or AHA proxy, you will have to do it by yourself. And by the way, I just did the SSE because I got asked several times about that. So I think, you know, JCON is a great time to show it once. And before I record, you know, the 100th screencast, JCON is better place to do it. You could use WebSockets, or you can just, you know, load from the server using get method. Oh, what I forgot to mention, very important thing. What usually happens here, why I did it synchronously, because what happens here, I'm sending here, let's say the action is communication starting action, and here is communication ended, a successful action. And then the Redux store will change state to starting and successful on error. And what it means is this can take, let's say, 2 hours, usually not, but let's say. So for that time, all the components can decide what they would like, you know, to be deactivated and don't require or don't allow user input, or they could. Okay, this is a very important thing. Forgot to mention this, but we are out of time, I think. Thank you for watching. Hopefully it was better than last year. Last year was more or less Hello World. Now is our Hello World with SSE. And yeah. Any questions? How to handle fetch target is not available. Try on catch. You can, and what you get back is the response with that const response, and the response has a property called OK. There is a response OK or not OK, exactly, and it is actually very, very similar to HTTP client in Java. Cool. Any other questions? I think we are out of time. So the moderator is very quiet, very unusual. How do you implement the acceptor to send refresh GWT token? Very simple. This never happens that way. What I have my own control, which in the HTTP package, which handles all the stuff, and the I think JWT, not GW, the J with J, and the JSON Web Token is just put in the header here for all communication, and you can store the JSON Web Token in the local storage or in the Redux store, so Redux store or JSON Web Token. Sorry, local storage, or both in my case. So because this is in caps, so what I have something like an HTTP client, which does, you know, the post and get and put and delete. It's a small wrapper, so I can send all the requests back and forth. What I usually also do, I measure the time. I have one component like, you know, timer, which shows me the slowest communication with the backend, and yeah. Yes, sure, no problem. Any other questions? Very good. Joe, this is the best question. So I have to answer this. What usually happens, the libs are not here. This is just playing here with my stuff. The libraries here are not inside this application, rather than they are loaded from a central server. So in what happens, we have a Jenkins, and I'll actually talk about that at the conference, so you can listen to this if you like, or watch it. And we have a CI/CD pipeline where it would create this on the fly, put a single JavaScript dependency on a central web server, and all developers would just load this remotely. So what it means is, in the app here, I would load the store, where is it? The Vadin router, not via this, rather than HTTP my server / and so forth. And everything is versioned, so it works. So time slots. Thank you. See you next time at the keynote with more slides. Thank you. I will push it right now, so don't worry. Bye.